Hello and welcome to the Gratitude and Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Mittich. I am an actor, a yoga instructor, a former ballet dancer, but above all, I am a wildly curious person. So I've spent the past several years researching and studying human behavior, why we do what we do, who and what we innately are, what my purpose is on this planet. And I'm here to share the insights and the tools that curiosity has led me to uncover, in hopes of helping you to navigate the inevitable ups and downs of your own life, and in hopes of inspiring you to become the person that you have always wanted to be. So pull up a chair or go for a walk, hop on that treadmill or go for a drive, and join me as I explore what it is to be a human being in this lifetime. Hello, and welcome back to another episode. I want to talk about your level of tolerance today. This is something that I've been actively working on myself, and I've had so many beautiful discoveries around this, and it's really started to change the way I approach a lot of things in my life. Relationships of every sort, business relationships, personal relationships, familial relationships, new relationships. And it's all coming around this idea of my level of tolerance. So let me start by saying, life will always meet you at your level of tolerance. So your level of tolerance is literally kind of what it sounds like. What are you willing to tolerate? What are you willing to tolerate about yourself? What are you willing to tolerate about other people? What are you willing to tolerate how other people treat you? And whatever level you set, life will always meet you at that level. It will also, and I'll talk about this a little later, send you things to see if you are willing to maintain the level of tolerance that you have set. I guess you could say level of tolerance is also the bars that you set in life. So lately, for the past while, I've been really reviewing my level of tolerance. Because here's the thing I struggled with. Most of you know here that unconditional love is something that I really stand behind. I really do. I think if we all unconditionally loved each other, the world would be a much different place. But I always struggled with, how do I unconditionally love people, but not become a mat for everybody to walk all over? How do I unconditionally love people, but not dip into my people pleaser? How do I unconditionally love people while keeping my level of tolerance? So this has been my biggest discovery lately and I have figured it out for myself. I figured out how to unconditionally love people without lowering my level of tolerance. How to unconditionally love people who are energetically completely different than me, who in terms of discipline are completely different than me, who are close to me and I love, but we do not have the same outlook on life, on mindset, on perspective, on love and fear. And the way I've learned to do this, because, okay, let me give just a bit more of a backstory here. So I really used to be a big people pleaser. I spent a good chunk of my life trying to save everybody else and just trying to be a quote unquote good person. And I always thought being a good person means always being available and always helping people when they ask and choosing to understand every single perspective and loving people unconditionally. But in that unconditional love, I would lower myself to their level of whatever it was. And I felt that if I judged people, if I didn't try to meet them at certain levels that they were comfortable with, then I was the bad guy. And the bad guy is my biggest core wound. One of, honestly. It's something that I had to rewire and really work on, because whenever something would threaten, oh my gosh, I'm going to be looked upon as a quote unquote bad person, this is going to hurt somebody, so I'm the bad guy, I would immediately pivot and do something that goes against my own level of tolerance and my own belief system to please that person. Because I put their happiness, their comfort, their level of tolerance above mine. And so now I have found this amazing middle ground where, like I said, I unconditionally love everyone, but I do not lower my level of tolerance. So, like I said, universe will always meet you where you set that level. The biggest thing that will help you maintain your level of tolerance is boundaries. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. This idea that setting boundaries does not make you a bad person. And this idea that setting boundaries doesn't have to be done in a rude way or a mean way, a negative way, a disrespectful way, a judgmental way. And this is why the two things can exist simultaneously. Sometimes you have to set boundaries with the people closest to you because you know what? You just don't see eye to eye. But that doesn't mean that you can't also unconditionally love them. I have realized I can be in a room with people who don't see eye to eye, who don't even want to try to understand mindset work, mind, body, soul work, perspective work, personal growth, personal development work. They don't want to. They don't have much in common with me. But now I can sit in a room with them and I can unconditionally love them because A, I understand them and I can see when they're choosing fear and I can see where that fear is coming from because I have done the work on myself. But I don't have to try to please them. I don't have to try to get them to accept anything. I have nothing to prove in these situations. So I can sit there and have a 3-4 hour hang with these people. I can do that once in a blue moon. But I do not have to be with these people on a 5-day trip, a week-long trip, a 2-day trip even. That is my level of tolerance, right? I've talked about this before, but your subconscious is wildly important, right? Your subconscious is 95%. And the people you fill your life with immediately feed your subconscious. And there's this phrase that I love, right? You are the sum of the 5 closest people you surround yourself with. So my level of tolerance, I choose my inner circle, the people that I'm surrounding myself with the most, to be people who energetically uplift me, amplify me, support me, motivate me, who speak my language in every sense. But I have a lot of people in my life that I love, that I've known my entire life, that do not speak my language, that do not understand what I'm after here, that don't understand that gratitude is my lifeline and that I want to live in presence and that every single day I want to do daily work that motivates me and betters me and pushes me to become my best self. And that's okay. That's okay. That doesn't mean I need to cut them out of my life. Because for the record, I did. When I first started to do the work on myself, when I really dove in after my summer of sadness, I boundaried everybody in a way of I cut them out. Because I was doing all this work on myself and nobody understood me and nobody really tried to understand me. And they were all kind of like, what the hell is going on with Sarah? And so I had to cut everybody. And I mean like close family, close friends. I shut myself off in this place of solitude so I could actually do the friggin' work without their judgments and without trying to prove the work to them. But then so I swung one way and I hit this boundary where I was like, I cut everybody out. And that was my boundary. Because also this was the first time I was setting boundaries in my life. And before that, I was totally on the other side, right? Where I was like super duper people pleaser, where I had no boundaries. I had no boundaries and I just let a lot of people walk all over me. And I always put everybody else's happiness above mine. I always put everybody else's bars in life above my own. And so I did that. I swung, I cut everybody out. And then I've been finding a middle ground these past few years. And I keep finding it, right? I keep growing in this sense because, like I said, I want to unconditionally love people. I choose to unconditionally love people. I choose to allow people to surprise me. I choose to give people a clean slate, no matter how much they hurt me, no matter how much they let me down. That's just something I've chosen to do because I truly believe you can be a completely different person next week than you are today. Because I am a different person a month ago than I am today, right? So I give that grace to other people. But I was still getting confused as to how much grace to give and again, how many boundaries to put up. And so this is the middle ground I have found for myself. When it comes to people that don't fit into your life in a way that makes you, jump for joy, when you leave hangs, not depleted, but not amplified, but you still love them and they're still an integral part to you for whatever reason, right? Like just because people don't speak my language doesn't mean they don't add something. A lot of this circles around this idea of duty and obligation, which is really important. And this also comes in with your level of tolerance. I'm a firm believer in live for the joy, not for the obligation. If you're only doing things out of duty and not out of passion and desire and spark, you're putting out a certain type of energy that you're going to get back. And again, for a chunk of my life, when I was people pleaser Sarah, I was also living out of duty. I was living out of obligation to be a good person, to be a good partner, to be a good daughter, a good friend, a good actor. I was living my life out of duty to be good. And then when I set up all those boundaries, I was like, F this, I'm only going to live from pleasure. I'm only going to live from passion, from desire. And again, I swung the other way. And so now I'm finding that balance. For me, I've learned I don't lower my level of tolerance, but there are some things that I do out of duty sometimes, absolutely. But they're not things that completely go against me, that go against my level of tolerance, that go against my energetic desires, that go against the way I view myself. Your level of tolerance, your boundaries are the way you respect yourself. That's what I've learned. And here's the thing, if you don't respect yourself, nobody else will, right? And when you put boundaries up, this is important. When you put boundaries up, it is not your responsibility how people accept and react to those boundaries. It's just not. That's their own journey. That's their own work. And this is a moment where it's really important to remember to uphold that level of tolerance you have decided to make with yourself and with the world and with the universe. And it's important to remember not to take it personally. The 4 Agreements is such a great book, and the one agreement is don't take anything personally. And I think this is something that relates to everyone, right? It's so hard not to take things personally. But if you set a boundary and somebody doesn't react well to that boundary, that's on them, not on you. Also, for the record, by the way, I definitely used to be that person who heard the word boundaries and I was like, ugh, boundaries. That's such a therapy word. Boundaries are everything. Okay? They are everything. So, I've had some conversations lately with people and they have said things to me that I had put up with for years and years and years. But I've been raising my level of tolerance and I've been raising how I allow people to talk to me, right? I heard this great thing on Instagram. I think it was a preview from the School of Greatness podcast. This isn't word for word because I don't remember it exactly, but a guest on the podcast said, the way people treat you is a reflection of themselves. The way you allow people to consistently treat you is a reflection of what you think of yourself. Your level of tolerance is also reflective of what you think you're worthy of receiving in every sense and in every kind of relationship. What do you think you're worthy of receiving in business relationships? How do you think you're worthy of being treated by your family, by your friends, by your spouse, your partner, your business partner, right? So your level of tolerance is this incredible thing where it pushes you. For me right now, it's pushing me to step even more into my highest self, into the version of me that I want to be. And again, that version is always evolving. That's the awesome part too, right? And so my level of tolerance is allowed to change. But is it changing because I am setting it, or is it changing because I am allowing external forces, external situations, external environments, external people to force me to adjust it? Right? So lately, like I said, there were certain conversations, certain topics, certain ways I was allowing people in my life to treat me, to speak to me. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. Because this is the other thing. When you don't set boundaries to maintain your level of tolerance, this is where I become reactive. So I was having a hard conversation with somebody, and somebody was coming at me in a way on a topic that they consistently brought up about a part of me. And the moment they brought it up, I like rolled my eyes and gave like a big puff, which for me right now, I'm really good at staying in the seat of the observer when I get triggered. But there are certain things, certain people know how to poke certain things, whether they mean to or not. I mean, this person's motivation was totally love, and I get it. But it was a conversation that we had consistently had, and I'd consistently asked to stop, and then it kept happening. And so finally, since I'd been focusing on my level of tolerance, I'm like, cool, this is an opportunity where the universe and life is bringing me a moment of, hey, Sarah, are you finally going to maintain your level of tolerance? Are you going to set a boundary? Are you going to feel like the bad guy, which you hate feeling like? Or are you going to lower your level of tolerance again? Because then it's just going to this pattern is going to keep repeating itself until you break it. That's the other great thing about your level of tolerance, right? Is you will be brought events and situations that is a test. Will you maintain your level of tolerance, or will you continue down the road that you're on? Maintaining your level of tolerance requires mental discipline, and it requires action, just like any change does. So I was put in this position and I was like, nope, maintaining level of tolerance. Here we go. And I set a boundary, and I was reactive at first. I apologized for being reactive, by the way. So this is the thing. When you're setting your boundaries, that doesn't mean you got to be a dick about it. That doesn't mean that suddenly you got to be mean and rude and, like I said, disrespectful. I apologized for being reactive. I explained why I was reactive, and I explained why I will no longer be having these conversations. Was that conversation uncomfortable? Yes. Were my insides cringing the entire time? Yes. Was I pushing my comfort zone? Yes. But none of that was worth me lowering my level of tolerance again. Right? And the feeling of stepping into and embodying that level of tolerance was a greater gift than the shitty feeling I would feel afterwards, being like, great, I just got walked all over again, or great, this happened and I let it go again. This is a cool thing, right? Sometimes you have to be the opposite of what you want to be what you want to be. So, I want to be unconditionally loving. That means sometimes my love has to be conditional so that it can be unconditional. Sometimes my love has to be boundaried so that I can unconditionally love. This is like the whole thing too, side note of like, you've probably heard this term, or maybe you haven't, divine dichotomy, where two opposing things can exist at the very same time and both of them can be true. I've learned this pops up everywhere in life. That's a different episode. Okay, so I want to talk about how to set your level of tolerance. First, I want you to think about your highest self. I want you to think about that version that you want to be. And I want you to think about it very specifically. Who do you want to be? I talk about this a lot, right? Who are you now? Who do you want to be? There's a gap there that we need to bridge. This is one way to do it. So, who do you want to be? Then, I want you to think about, how does that version of you act? What do they put up with? What is their daily work? What are their daily habits? How does that person talk to other people? How does that person talk to themselves? I want you to start looking and diving into that highest version of you that you want to be. How does that person react when they're triggered? How does that person react on a day-to-day? Just everything, right? And then I want you to divide this into a couple things in terms of setting your level of tolerance. So, what is your level of tolerance with yourself? What are you willing to tolerate with yourself? And what are you not willing to tolerate? Everything from, what's your daily work? Like, what are you doing every day for your mind, your body, and your soul? What does that highest version of you do? How do they eat? How do they sleep? What is their skincare routine? All that good stuff, right? So what is your level of tolerance with yourself? A big thing with my level of tolerance was, what's my level of self-love? So Louise Hay, if you haven't heard of her, I mean, she's one of the biggest names in transformational work, in self-help. I reread her book, You Can Heal Your Life, a lot, and her biggest premise is, when you learn to love yourself, your entire life will take off. And so as I've been raising my level of tolerance, I'm actually also raising my level of self-love. And that's where the level of tolerance is most important. Because when you allow people to lower that level, you're lowering your self-respect and your self-love. So in setting your level of tolerance for yourself, I implore you to also set self-love in there. What's your inner talk like these days? When you look in the mirror, what do you see? What's the talk there? So, level of tolerance with yourself. Level of tolerance on how you allow people to treat you, what you allow them to say to you. And again, this doesn't mean that if somebody says something that you don't like, that suddenly you react back. That's not the point here, right? Like I said, I can unconditionally love people and they don't necessarily speak to me the way I want to be spoken to. I set a boundary out of love. And I think that's the thing. Set boundaries out of love, not out of fear, right? Not out of reactivity, not out of meanness, not out of anger. Set these boundaries out of love for yourself and for that other person. Right? Because people are only going to treat you the way you allow them to treat you. If you allow them to treat you a certain way, you are enabling that behavior. So you are doing a disservice as well. And also give grace here, right? Because if you suddenly set up boundaries and people kind of break them every now and then, keep in mind that they are also adjusting to this change. And any change takes repetition and it takes time. Okay? Because we're doing subconscious work here. Subconscious work takes repetition and time. You cannot expect somebody just to change overnight. They have habits that they will have to rewire as well. So give grace. And that's also giving unconditional love while setting your boundary, right? Sometimes you have to set a boundary with somebody a few times. Don't get upset about that. Again, middle ground here. In setting your boundaries and setting and maintaining your level of tolerance doesn't mean you suddenly turn into this righteous person. That means you are completely better than everybody else. No, that's the unconditional love portion, right? Give them grace, allow them the chance to surprise you and to change, and support them on that by reminding them of these boundaries. Then, Level of tolerance in terms of business, right? What is your level of tolerance of the things you will receive business-wise? This doesn't mean go and quit your job if you hate it, but set your bars here. For all my actors out there, what kind of roles maintain your level of tolerance? What kind of roles do you want to do that you're willing to do and that you don't want to do and you aren't willing to do? Especially in this industry, right? Like there's that mentality of like, be grateful for work, keep your head down and like show up to set. I'm sorry, that's not where I operate from anymore. There are certain roles I will do and certain roles I say no to. And for all my actors out there, it took me 8 years to start saying no to things. I did a bunch of roles I didn't want to do because I was like, an opportunity. And I was made to feel like, be grateful that you have a job, right? But again, the universe will match you at your level of tolerance. It will test you if you will maintain it. It will send you the auditions. It'll send you the offers for the roles. And if that role is like, this totally goes under my level of tolerance, say no, right? You have that power. I mean, of course, talk it over with your team, write your pros and cons list, do what you need to do, sit in meditation. But if it's really something that goes against you and your values and your level of tolerance, say no. You will be brought that which matches. But you have to show life you're serious about it, right? If the universe keeps bringing you things that test you and you keep lowering that level of tolerance, well, then that is actually your level of tolerance and that's what you will be brought. So I think those are the big ones, right? Level of tolerance with yourself, level of tolerance in your relationships of all sorts. Family, friends, romantic, level of tolerance in business, level of tolerance in career, with everything. So I want you to really mull this over, think about it, make these lists, and then I want you to sit and I want you to incorporate daily ways you are going to maintain this level of tolerance. And I want you to like have visualize here of like, okay, this is my level and I know this person's going to do this. So I'm going to mentally rehearse how to set this boundary in a way that I'm proud of, in a way that comes from love and not fear. So I want you to sit and go through all these level of tolerances that you've set and be like, what can I do every day to maintain it, to feel like I am living from that level, to maintain this level when I get triggered and tested. So, and this is where that daily work comes in, right? Of whatever your daily work is. And we should all be doing daily work on our mind, body, and soul. That's my personal belief and my personal experience, because when I do the daily work, I'm very satisfied and fulfilled in my life because every single part of my being is fulfilled. So set that level of tolerance and really be like, cool, how can I tangibly, like what exercises can I do? What can I do every single day to maintain that level of tolerance, right? If you have a certain level of tolerance with yourself, that's like, I'm going to exercise 3 times a week. Great. That is mental discipline too, right? This is where mental discipline comes in to help you maintain it. But you have to do the work on your end. And it's a lot easier to keep this philosophical, right? So if you're like, cool, my level of tolerance is I'm going to treat myself like the celebrity that I am. Or I'm going to treat myself like the CEO that I am. What does that mean? That means that I also make self-care a priority. I go for facials. I go for massages. I treat myself to manicures and pedicures. I allow other people to service me so that I can be in my full self. I can feel physically maintained and beautiful. I can feel internally maintained and beautiful. So this is what I mean by how do you maintain it? In business relationships, if a business partner is like pitching you things that don't resonate with your level of tolerance, if your level of tolerance has changed, communicate that. And again, maintaining your level of tolerance is going to push your comfort zone, especially if you're raising your level of tolerance, because you're pushing your own boundaries and your own comfort level. But I will tell you this, it is in discomfort that we grow the most in every single way. So push that comfort zone, maintain your level of tolerance. And just remember always this beautiful discovery that I've had. You can maintain your level of tolerance and still unconditionally love people. It does not have to be one or the other. It truly can be both. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that today. Level of tolerance, baby. Set it. Truly set it, because the universe will always meet you at it. But if you don't raise it, nobody else is going to raise it for you. So again, this is another beautiful thing to empower you to step into the version that you actually want to be. To step into the person who reacts in ways you're proud of. To step into a version of you where you do work that you're proud of. Where you live every single day fulfilled, satisfied, and purposeful. Okay? All right, thank you. Thank you for tuning in today. And for me today, honestly, my gratitude and my growth are the same thing, and they are this. I've really been raising and stepping into my level of tolerance this past chunk of time. And what I'm seeing come to me, what I'm seeing match that level is so beautiful and so exciting and like super inspiring. And I'll probably talk about it down the road. But the growth is also in that. My growth is exactly what I'm telling you right now, which is taking daily steps and doing daily work to maintain that level of tolerance in every aspect of my life. And so my gratitude and my growth are the same. And that's why the show's called Gratitude and Growth, right? For me, life is about these two things. It's about being grateful for every moment you're in, even if you're in the shit of it, and to know that you will continue to grow for the rest of your life. There is no point of arrival. And so I'm so grateful for this awareness of my level of tolerance. And I'm so grateful to be growing through it because I'm pushing myself into the next level. I am allowing the world and life to meet me at that level. And I'm grateful for all the tests that have been brought my way for that level. All right, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for embarking on this. Like, even if it's just for a day, a week, a month, let the level of tolerance be something that you think about and reflect upon. And let me know. Let me know if you've raised it. Let me know what the universe is bringing to test it. Let me know how all of this sits with you. All right. As always, stay grateful and keep growing. Bye for now. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you liked what you heard, hit that subscribe button and maybe send it to someone who you think might need to hear today's message. And let me know how everything's sitting. Leave me a rating and a review and let me know what's resonating with you. What do you want to hear more of? What's your favorite episode and why? And I hope you find your way back here to another episode, another time, as we keep exploring this beautiful and wild thing that we all call life.